God bless you.
God bless you.
God bless you. Today we're doing a study in Genesis on Abraham, Sarah and Isaac, but mainly on Abraham. So let's begin with chapter 11, the Tower of Babel. Now the whole earth had one language and one speech, and it came to pass as they journeyed from the east that they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. Then they said to one another, "Come, let us make bricks and bake them thoroughly." They had brick for stone, and they had asphalt for mortar. And they said, "Come, let us build ourselves a city, and a tower whose top is in the heavens. Let us make a name for ourselves, lest we be scattered abroad over the face of the whole earth." The Lord came down to see the city, and the tower the sons of men had built, and the Lord said, "Indeed that the people are one, and they have all been one, and language, and this is what they begin to do. Now nothing that they propose to do will be withheld from there. Come, let us go down, and there confuse their language, that they may not understand one another's speech." So the Lord scattered them abroad from there over the face of all the earth, and they ceased building the city. Therefore its name is called Babel, because there the Lord confused the language of all the earth, and from there the Lord scattered them abroad over the face of all the earth. This is the genealogy of Shem. Shem was 100 years old and begot Arphaxad. 2 years after the flood, he begot Shem lived 500 and begot sons and daughters. How do you pronounce this name, Dad?
Arphaxad?
Arphaxad lived 30 years and begot Salah. After he begot Salah, Arphaxad lived 403 years and begot sons and daughters. Salah lived 30 years and begot Eber. After he begot Eber, Salah lived 403 years and begot sons and daughters. Eber lived 34 years and begot Peleg. After he begot Peleg, Eber lived 430 years and he begot sons and daughters. Peleg lived 30 years and begot Reu. After he begot Reu, Peleg lived 209 years and he begot sons and daughters. Reu lived 32 years and begot Serug. After he begot Serug, Reu lived 207 years and he begot sons and daughters. Serug lived 30 years and begot Nahor. And after he begot Nahor, Serug lived 200 years and begot sons and daughters. Nahor lived 29 years and begot Terah. After he begot Terah, Nahor lived 119 years and begot sons and daughters. Now Terah lived 70 years and begot Abram, Nahor and Haran. This is the genealogy of Terah. Terah begot Abraham, Nahor and Haran. Haran begot Lot, and Haran died before his father Terah in his native land in Ur. The Chaldeans. Then Abram and Nahor took wives. The name of Abram's wife was Sarai, and the name of Nahor's wife Milcah, the daughter of Haran, the father of Milcah and the father of Iscah. But Sarai was barren, she had no children. And Terah took his son Abram, and his grandson Lot, the son of Haran, and his daughter-in-law Sarai, his son Abraham's wife, and they went out with them from Ur of the Chaldeans to go to the land of Canaan. And they came to Haran and dwelt there. So the days of Terah were 205 years, and Terah died in Haran. So as you can see, we're reading about Abraham, and of course just before we read about Abraham, it talks about the Tower of Babel and how, of course, that God separated, because of course we all speak so different languages now and things. And it's interesting that of course it's right now his name's not Abraham and Sarah, it's Abram and Sarai instead, because God hasn't given their names yet. Now the Lord had said to Abram, "Get out of your country, from your family, and from your father's house, to a land that I will show you. I will make you a great nation. I will bless you, and make your name great, and you shall be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and I will curse him who curses you. And in all the families of your earth shall be blessed." So Abram departed as the Lord had spoken to him. And Lot Lot went with him, and Abram was 75 years old. When he departed from Haran, then Abram took Sarai, his wife, and Lot his brother's son, and all of their possessions that they had gathered, and the people whom they had acquired in Haran. And they departed to go to the land of Canaan. So they came to the land of Canaan. Abram passed through the land to the place of Shechem, as far as the terebinth tree of Moreh, and the Canaanites were there in the land. Then the Lord appeared to Abram and said, to your descendants I will give this land. And there he built an altar to the Lord who had appeared to him. And he moved from there to the mountain east of Bethel, and he pitched his tent with Bethel on the west and Ai on the east. There he built an altar to the Lord and called on the name of the Lord. So Abram journeyed going on still towards the south. Now there was a famine in the land, and Abram went down to Egypt to dwell there, for the famine was severe in the land. And it came to pass, when he was close to entering Egypt, that he said to Sarah his wife, Indeed, I know that you are a woman of beautiful countenance. Therefore it will happen when the Egyptians see you, that they will say, This is his wife, and they will kill me. They will let you live. Please say you are my sister, and then it may be well with me from your sake, and that I may live because of you. So it was, when Abram came into Egypt, that the Egyptians saw the woman, that she was very beautiful. The princes of Pharaoh also saw her and commended her to Pharaoh, and the woman was taken to Pharaoh's house. He treated Abram well for her sake. He had sheep, oxen, male donkeys, male and female servants, female donkeys and camels. But the Lord plagued Pharaoh and his house with great plagues because of Sarai, Abraham's wife. And Pharaoh called Abram and said, Why is this you have done to me? Why did you not tell me that she was your wife? Why did you say she is my sister? I might have taken her as my wife. Now therefore here is your wife, take her and go away. So Pharaoh commanded his men concerning him, and they sent him away with his wife and all that he had. So as you can see, the Lord told Abraham what to do, and Abraham's doing it, and his journey to pass through Canaan and Egypt, and how he'll have his descendants, and of course about how Sarai pretended to be his sister so he wasn't killed, so they could take her. So now we're going to read 13. Dad,
May
would
I
you
jump in a couple of bits?
Yeah.
So I don't know if you pick up on it, but if you see here, if we come back to the beginning, what does God say to him? Get out of your country, from your family, and from your father's house, to a land that I will show you. I will make you a great nation. I will bless you. Now I need to remember, I will bless you. So do you think he's going to let someone take Abram's wife?
No.
Because would that be a blessing to Abram to let someone take his wife?
No.
And that's right. And he says he's going to make your name great, and you shall be a blessing. So he will be a blessing on those. But then also what will also happen, and I will curse him who curses you. And in all the families of the earth shall be blessed. So the blessing comes through Abraham. Now what happens? He's worried they're going to kill him because of it. He's like, I know you're very beautiful, so just tell him you're my wife, and then they ain't going to come for me. But if they know you're my wife, they'll take me out the way, but they'll keep you alive. So he says, tell him you're my brother. So he goes, and now she's telling them he's her brother. So of course they're being nice to him, and they're giving him all these nice things. But then of course the Pharaoh's intended on marrying Sarai, which is actually Abram's wife. So what does God do? You see all these things. But the Lord plagued Pharaoh. So God is plaguing Pharaoh and his house with great plagues. And if you remember later on, this happens again during the time of Moses, great plagues upon Pharaoh.
Yeah, 10.
Okay? And then of course, he sends him on his way, but he sends him with all those things, doesn't he? So he's been blessed.
Yeah.
There you go. So you can continue now. My apologies.
Would you like to read chapter 13, please?
Yeah, of course. So, chapter 13. Then Abram went up from Egypt, and he and his wife and all that he had, and Lot with him, to the south. Abram was very rich in livestock, in silver, and in gold. So I'm just going to quickly stop there, because do you remember what happens with Moses and all the Israelites? They get sent on their way, don't they?
Yeah.
He lets them go.
But then
what also happens, they all despoil the Egyptians. They take all their wealth with them. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? What's been done before will be done again, and there is nothing new under the sun. So we shall continue, as you see the blessings upon Abraham. And he went on his journey from the south as far as Bethel, to the place where his tent had been at the beginning, between Bethel and Ai, to the place of the altar which he had made there at first. And there Abram called on the name of the Lord. Lot also, who went with Abram, had flocks and herds and tents. Now the land was not able to support them, that they might dwell together, for their possessions were so great that they could not dwell together. So between the two of them, they had so much, the land weren't big enough for the two of them. Okay? And there was strife between the herdsmen of Abraham's livestock and the herdsmen of Lot's livestock. The Canaanites and the Perizzites then dwelt in the land. So Abram said to Lot, Please, let there be no strife between you and me, and between my herdsmen and your herdsmen, for we are brethren. Is not the whole land before you? Please separate from me. If you take the left, then I will go to the right. Or, if you go to the right, then I will go to the left. So you see, Abram doesn't want any ill will between them, because there's all this arguing, because they've got so much between them, that the herdsmen are now bickering over the livestock. So he's saying, whatever way you go, I'll go the opposite. So that there won't be any kind of, well, I'm going to take that because I think it looks better. I'll let you have first choice, because I don't want there to be any ill will. There's no animosity, nor strife, nor greed there, nor malice. So he's let him, he said, whichever one you want, you take, and I will go the other way. Okay? So then, and Lot lifted his eyes and saw all the plain of Jordan, that it was well watered everywhere before the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. So this is before what's going to happen to Sodom and Gomorrah. Like the garden of the Lord, like the land of Egypt, as you go towards Zoar. Then Lot chose for himself all the plain of Jordan, and Lot journeyed east, and they separated from each other. Abram dwelt in the land of Canaan, and Lot dwelt in the cities of the plain, and pitched his tent even as far as Sodom. But the men of Sodom were exceedingly wicked and sinful against the Lord. And the Lord said to Abram, after Lot had separated from him, Lift your eyes now and look from where you are, northward, southward, eastward, and westward. For all the land which you see, I give to you and your descendants forever.
Sorry, Dad?
Yes, sorry.
How does God communicate to Abram? Was it through a dream, or does he just appear?
No, it tells you here, and the Lord said to Abram.
I mean,
Remember,
says it like, is it in his
Abram was a friend
mind?
to God, so he would have spoken with God.
Oh, like, so did God take it, like, from the clouds? It just, like...
Well, you know, God's voice is a mighty voice, isn't it? So it says here, and the Lord said, so it says he's speaking to him.
Oh,
and what do we learn? So I believe it's Hebrews, where it talks about Abraham, a friend to God. And also again here,
so, like,
again, later
when he's speaking,
Genesis,
would other people be able to hear it if they were near him?
I don't know if others would, because you know when God speaks to me. Do you remember like when Paul was blinded by Jesus?
Yeah.
Did anyone else see what Paul saw when he was blinded?
No.
That's right.
Because, of course, before he was Paul, he was Saul.
Yeah, that's right. So that time he got blinded, or do you remember where is it? The times when God has spoken and others have heard but a mighty thunder and have been afraid of the thunder, but others that it is the word of God. You see?
Oh, yeah.
So, does that make sense so far? So this is God's telling Abraham all these things. Does that make sense so far? That's okay. And I will make your descendants as the dust of the earth, so that if a man could number the dust of the earth, then your descendants also could be numbered. Arise, walk in the land through its length and its width, for I give it to you. Then Abram moved his tent and went and dwelt by the terebinth trees of Mamre, which are in Hebron, and built an altar there to the Lord. Okay, so God's telling him that he's going to have so many descendants. It's going to be like dust. Now, can you count dust? And you know what it's like in places that are really, really dusty, that need a lot of dusting. So you get the idea. You can't count the dust from the mess, can you? It's just so numerous. The same will be the descendants. Okay. Did you want me to continue 14 or?
Oh, you can do 14 and I can continue the next two after that.
And it came to pass in the days of Amraphel, king of Shinar, Arioch, king of Elasar, Chedorlaomer, king of Elam, and Tidal, king of nations, that they made war with Bera, king of Sodom, Bersha, king of Gomorrah, Shinab, king of Admah, Shemeba, king of Zobim, and the king of Bela, that is Zoar. All these joined together in the valley of Siddim, that is the Salt Sea. 12 years they served Chedorlaomer, and in the 13th year they rebelled. In the 14th year, Chedorlaomer, the king and the kings that were with him came and attacked the Rephaim in Ashtaroth, Karnaim, the Zuzim in Ham, and the Emim in Shaveh, Kiriathaim, and the Horites in their mountain of Seir, as far as El Paran, which is by the wilderness. Then they turned back and came to En Mishpat, that is Kadesh, and attacked all the country of the Amalekites, and also the Amorites who dwelt in Hazezon Tamar. And the king of Sodom, the king of Gomorrah, the king of Admah, the king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, that is Zoar, went out and joined together in battle in the valley of Siddim against Chedorlaomer, king of Elam, Tidal, king of nations, Amraphel, king of Shinar, and Arioch, king of Elasar, 4 kings against 5. Now the valley of Siddim was full of asphalt pits, and the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah fled. Some fell there, and the remainder fled to the mountains. Then they took all the goods of Sodom and Gomorrah, and all their provisions, and went their way. They also took Lot, Abram's brother's son, who dwelt in Sodom, and his goods, and departed. Then one who had escaped came and told Abram, the Hebrew, for he dwelt by the terebinth trees of Mamre, the Amorite, brother of Eshcol and brother of Aner, and they were allies with Abram. And when Abraham heard that his brother was taken captive, he armed his 318 trained servants who were born in his own house, and went in pursuit as far as Dan. He divided his forces against them by night, and he and his servants attacked them and pursued them as far as Hobah, which is north of Damascus. So he brought back all the goods, and also brought back his brother Lot and his goods, as well as the women and the people. So Abram's gone out to rescue Lot, who's been taken, and all the things of Lot that have been taken, all these people that have been taken. And it's just Abram and 318 servants. And they go out there and they succeed. Now, why do you think he succeeded?
Because they had God.
That's right, because God is with him. God said earlier, didn't he? I will bless you. So do you think God's going to let him fail?
No.
See, God is with you. Do you have to fear if God's always with you?
No.
That's right. You trust in God and God's there to deliver. So he's gone out there with 318. He's taken them on and he's won. And the king of Sodom went out to meet him at the valley of Shaveh, that is the king's valley, after his return from the defeat of Chedorlaomer, the kings who were with him. Then Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought out bread and wine, and he was the priest of God Most High, and he blessed him, and said, Blessed be Abraham of God Most High, possessor of heaven and earth, and blessed be God Most High, who has delivered your enemies into your hand. And he gave him a tithe of all. Now the king of Sodom said to Abram, Give me the persons, and take the goods for yourself. But Abram said to the king of Sodom, I have raised my hand to the Lord, God Most High, the possessor of heaven and earth, that I will take nothing, from a thread to a sandal strap, and that I will not take anything that is yours, lest you should say, I have made Abram rich, except only what the young men have eaten, and the portion of the men who went with me, Aner, Eshcol, and Mamre, let them take their portion. So the priest king Melchizedek, can you hear about Melchizedek in Hebrews? Remember Melchizedek?
Yeah.
That's right. Without beginning nor with end. I don't know if you see this, but what's it say when he comes out with bread and wine? What happens when Jesus says, do this in remembrance of me? Bread and wine. And he comes out, and what happens here? He blesses Abraham of God Most High.
Yeah.
Possessor of heaven and earth. And he says that it's God that delivered his enemies into his hand. Because that's the truth for the matter. Blessed be the Lord.
Sorry, we're very sorry. The camera just got knocked.
Accidents happen. There we go. And what happened?
Pardon?
God delivered his enemies into his hand.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Mm.
And then see here where the king of Sodom, this king, and he says, taking the possessions but give me the people. But what's Abraham say? He says, no, he won't take anything, not even a strap off a sandal. So he's like, no, I don't want anything for myself. He ain't doing it to make himself rich. You see, he's like, I won't even take anything that is yours, lest you should say I've made Abram rich, because it's God that blesses him. Always faithful. It's not about riches. Obedience unto God always. It's God that blesses. So are you ready for chapter 15?
Yeah. Yeah.
Would you like to read?
Yeah. After these things, the word of the Lord came to Abram in a vision, saying, Do not be afraid, Abram. I am your shield, your exceedingly great reward. But Abram said, Lord God, what will you give me, seeing I go childless, and the heir of my house is Eliezer of Damascus? Then Abram said, Look, you have given me no offspring. Indeed, one born in my house is my heir. And behold, the word of the Lord came to him, saying, This one shall not be your heir, but the one who will come from your own body shall be your heir. When he brought him outside and said, Look now toward heaven and count the stars, if you are able to number them. And he said to him, So shall your descendants be. And he believed in the Lord, and he accounted it to him for righteousness. And then he said to him, I am the Lord who brought you out of Ur of the Chaldeans to give you this land to inherit it. And he said, Lord God, how shall I know that I will inherit it? So he said to him, Bring me a 3-year-old heifer, a 3-year-old female goat, a 3-year-old ram, a turtle dove, and a young pigeon. And then he brought all these to him, and cut them in two down the middle, and placed each piece opposite the other. But he did not cut the birds in two. And when the vultures came down on the carcasses, Abram drove them away. And when the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Abram, and behold, horror and great darkness fell upon him. Then he said to Abram, "Know certainly that your sons will be strangers in a land that is not theirs, and will serve them, and they will afflict them 400 years. Inflict 400, and also the nation whom they serve I will judge afterwards. They shall come out with great possessions. Now as for you, shall go out to your fathers in peace. You shall be buried at a good old age. But in the 4th generation I shall return from here. From the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet complete." And it came to pass, when the sun went down and it was dark, that behold, there appeared a smoking oven and a burning torch that passed between these pieces. On the same day the Lord made a covenant with Abram, saying, "To your descendants I have given this land, from the river of Egypt to the great river, the river Euphrates, the Kenites and Kenizzites, the Kadmonites and the Hittites, the Perizzites and the Rephaim, the Amorites, the Canaanites and Girgashites, and the Jebusites."
Okay, so God is telling him that he is the one you see here at the beginning. Do not be afraid. That not only is he his shield, but he's also his exceedingly great reward. And he tells him that he will have offspring, because Abram's like, "I've got no kids." Of course, we know Sarai is barren at this time, don't we? And God is telling him all the land and how great he will be, and to show him. And Abram believes what the Lord tells him, and this is accounted to him for righteousness. You'll see that again in the New Testament as well, that same verse. You see, and it's all about faith. He trusts in God, doesn't doubt him. And the rest is history. So, would you like to read number 16?
Now Sarai, Abram's wife, had borne him no children, and she had an Egyptian maidservant whose name was Hagar. So Sarai said to Abram, "See now, the Lord has restrained me from bearing children. Please go in to my maid. Perhaps I shall obtain children by her." And Abram heeded the voice of Sarai. Then Sarah, Abram's wife, took Hagar, her maid, the Egyptian, and gave her to her husband Abram to be his wife. After Abram has dwelt 10 years in the land of Canaan. So he went into Hagar, and she conceived. And when she saw that she had conceived, her mistress became despised in her eyes. Then Sarai said to Abraham, "My wrong be upon you. I gave my maid into your embrace, and when she saw that she had conceived, I came despised in her eyes. So the Lord judge between you and me." So Abraham said to Sarah, "Indeed, your handmaid is in your hand. Do to her as you please." And when Sarai dealt harshly with her, she fled from her presence. Now the angel of the Lord found her by a spring of water in the wilderness, by the spring on the way to Shur. And he said to Hagar, Sarai's maid, "Where have you come from, and where are you going?" She said, "I am fleeing from the presence of my mistress Sarai." The angel of the Lord said to her, "Return to your mistress and submit yourself under her hand." Then the angel of the Lord said to her, "I will multiply your descendants exceeding, so they shall not be counted for multitude." And the angel of the Lord said to her, "Behold, you are with child, and you shall bear a son. You shall call his name Ishmael, because the Lord has heard your affliction. He shall be a wild man. His hand shall be against every man, and every man's hand against him. And he shall dwell in the presence of all his brethren." Then she called the name of the Lord who spoke to her, "You are the God who sees." For she said, "Have I also here seen him who sees me?" Therefore the well was called Beer Laharoi. Observe, it is between Kadesh and Bered. So Hagar bore Abram a son, and Abram named his son, whom Hagar bore Ishmael. Abram was 86-year-old when Hagar bore Ishmael to Abram.
That's right. So you see where Sarai comes to Abram, and she realizes that she still can't have kids. So she's like, maybe my maid servant will bring me a child, and we'll do it that way. So when we do what we think is right in our own eyes, we get it wrong, don't we? Because what happens, look at the drama that comes from it. The maidservant now despises Sarai because she's like, well, I got a kid, you ain't. So she's like, I don't like it no more. So of course there's all this drama, and if you read the book of Yasha, that goes into this in far greater detail. actually explains everything that happens in this specific sequence. And of course, as you see here, Abram says to her that she's your maidservant, do as you see fit. And we see the age of Abram. He's 86 years old when Ishmael is born. So he's not a young man, is he? So, are you ready to continue? We're at chapter 17.
The sign of the covenant. When Abram was 99 years old, the Lord appeared to Abram and said to him, I am Almighty God, walk before me and be blameless, and I will make my covenant between me and you, and I will multiply you exceedingly. Then Abram fell on his face, and God talked with him, saying, As for me, behold, my covenant is with you, and you shall be a father of many nations. No longer shall your name be called Abram, but your name shall be Abraham, for I have made you a father of many nations. I will make you exceedingly fruitful, and I will make nations of you, and kings shall come from you. And I will establish my covenant between me and you, and your descendants after you in their generations, for an everlasting covenant to be God to you, and your descendants after you. Also I give to you, and your descendants after you, the land in which you are a stranger, all the land of Canaan as an everlasting possession, and I will be their God. And God... Sorry, I've lost.
Verse 9.
And God said to Abraham, As for you, you shall keep my covenant, you and your sons after you throughout their generations. This is my covenant which we shall keep between me and you and your descendants after you. Every male child among you shall be circumcised, and you shall be circumcised in the flesh of your foreskins. And it shall be a sign of the covenant between me and you. He who is 8 days old among you shall be circumcised, every male child in your generations. He who is born in your house or brought with money from any foreigner who is not your descendant, he who is born in your house and he who is brought with your money must be circumcised. And my covenant shall be in your flesh for an everlasting covenant. And the uncircumcised male child who is not circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin, that person shall be cut off from his people. He has broken my covenant. Then God said to Abraham, As for Sarah your wife, you shall not call her name Sarai, but Sarah shall be her name, and I will bless her and also give you a son by her, and then I will bless her, and she shall be a mother of nations. Kings of people shall be from her. Then Abraham fell on his face and laughed, and she said in his heart, Shall a child be born to a man who is 100 years old? And shall Sarah, who is 99 years old, bear a child? And Abraham said to God, Oh, that Meshach might live before you. Then God said, No, Sarah your wife shall bear you a son, and you shall call his name Isaac. I will establish my covenant with him for an everlasting covenant, and with his descendants after him. And as for Ishmael, I have heard you. Behold, I have blessed him, and will make him fruitful, and will multiply him exceedingly. He shall beget 12 princes, and I will make him a great nation. But my covenant I will establish with Isaac, whom Sarah shall bear to you at this set time next year. Then he finished talking with him, and God went up from Abraham. So Abraham took Ishmael his son. All who were born in this house, and all who were bought with his money, every male among the men of Abraham's house, and circumcised the flesh of their foreskins, that very same day, as God had said to him. Abraham was 99 years old when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin, and Ishmael his son was 13 years old when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin. That very same day Abraham was circumcised, and his son Ishmael, and all the men of his house born in the house, or bought with money from a foreigner, were circumcised with him. So in chapter 17, you can see, of course, it's talking about how he was, the covenant, and it talks about how he will have a child, of course, called Isaac, and and about circumcision, everyone needs to do it in his descendants, and the rules, and of course, that he will look after all the people, or like Abraham's descendants, if he follows God's rules and everything. So of course a covenant, it means an agreement, so it's agreement that they will, he will follow God's rules and do what he's told by God, and will do the things he needs to, it's written down what they need to do for his descendants. And then God will look after them and make his descendants many. Of course it says the grains of dust, I believe. Dad, what would you like to add?
You also get to see this is where God says you shall no longer be called Abram, but your name shall be Abraham. For I have made you a father of many nations. I will make you exceedingly fruitful, and will make you nations of you, and kings shall come from you. So you know the great power that's going to be beheld upon all the land. For the kings will come from Abraham, and he will be exceedingly fruitful, and nations will be made from him. And of course you see again further along, Sarai will now be Sarah. Shall be her name, and it says that, and I will bless her, and I'll also give a son by her. Then I will bless her, and she shall be a mother of nations. Kings of people shall be from her. Okay, so you get to see that the beginnings with the covenant, the first covenant that is made, which is the covenant between God and Abraham.
Yeah.
Where, of course, the establishment of that covenant, of course, first covenant came in, and you see the sign in the flesh, the outward appearance of the covenant. And then you see here, with Abram becoming Abraham, Sarai becoming Sarah. And this is the establishment and the coming of the time of Isaac, whom Sarah shall bear at the set time next year. Also talks about the establishment of Ishmael and the descendants of Ishmael as well, which is also a son that came through Abraham, and how he is blessed. See? As you come across, so you see all of this establishment. So this is where you get up to where the name change comes in.
Yeah.
And the establishment for the telling of that Sarai will have a child. And of course, you know the rest is history. So how are you getting on so far?
Good. I feel quite tired now.
Okay.
Yeah.
We do apologise, but I think we shall be stopping here. But I hope you've been able to take in some information here.
Yeah. Thanks for joining in. Tomorrow we'll continue with this study. Refreshed, ready to continue. Thanks for listening. God bless you. Dad, would you like to add anything?
Yeah. God bless you all, and may you be enriched by these studies. Keep studying and standing faithful unto the end. God bless you all.
Bye.